Welcome to another episode of the Abbotsford Farm podcast, where we focus on all things Abbotsford Canucks. Now, do you see the correlation, the Abbotsford Canucks or the farm team or the Vancouver Canucks, Abbotsford Farm? Anyways, it's hilarious, and if you don't get it, that's your fault, not ours. I'm Tim Dicker.
Super brilliant.
With Ben Livka. The podcast, of course, is powered by Black Press Media and the Abbotsford News. I predicted a 2-game sweep of the Stockton Heat over the weekend. Is it possible I cursed the team, Ben?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was probably the reason why we lost. I'm totally blaming it on you. It wasn't the fact that they scored 2 goals on Friday and 1 goal on Saturday. I'm blaming you.
I mean, is it the power of the cast, really? Right? Is it the power of the podcast?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
the games over the weekend against Stockton, and it was more the same of what we've seen from the team. They're in every game. They get pretty solid goaltending, but offensively, and that's starting to become an issue. They're having difficulties generating goals, and I know they've lost some of their better players to Vancouver, and that's continuing again this week. And that's a trend that they're probably going to have to get used to. But they're averaging, like, they've scored, so there's been 9 games, they've scored 22 goals. Like, they're averaging 2.4 goals a game, and you're not going to win that many games scoring that often. Like, they need to produce more offense. They need to produce more on the power play. They need to take advantage of those opportunities. But yeah, it's just the offense has kind of been sputtering a bit the last few games. Like, if you look at the goals, aside from this weekend, they've had 1 goal, 2 goals, 2, 3. So they're in that 2 or 3 goal range, and a lot of times less. So yeah, it's just the offense. Defensively, things look pretty solid. They're getting consistent goaltending, but offensively, things aren't happening.
Now, do you think that, obviously the AHL is its own sort of beast in that it, there's the constant change, the sort of natural chaos of the league. Last year, the Utica Comets, the precursor to the Abbotsford Canucks, were a split squad team with half Canucks prospects, half St. Louis Blues prospects. And so this year they've had to add another half of a team from who was there last year. No exhibition games. Do you think it's starting to catch up this, like, that they were so far behind the curve? Some of these other teams would have had a long camp, would have had exhibition games, would have had a primary core that was there with them the year before, whereas this Canucks team, doesn't, right? I mean, it's very much a team that's brand new, and they're finding chemistry, they're working through it. Do you think it's starting to catch up?
Yeah, that's definitely what it feels like. Like, at the start of the year, there's a lot of excitement, new team, new players. And yeah, I mean, it's not like Vancouver has taken a lot of the top players from Abbotsford. So, we lost Justin Bailey, Nick Patan's been up and down. Some of the defensemen have been up and down. Just today, Madison Bowie is now joining the team on the trip. So yeah, there's a lot of turnover, and to start off with, the chemistry probably is going to take a while to come together. So yeah, that could be catching up. The other thing that I'm kind of thinking is, like, we've seen a lot of the same teams early on. We've seen Ontario a lot. We've seen Henderson, and these are some of the top teams in the AHL, at least early on. So it could just be a little bit of bad luck too. Like, they're running into these pretty good teams. Stockton is another really good team. So yeah, they're running into these teams that are established and already have developed chemistry in prior years. So that could be another thing that's working against them.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. But of course, you don't want to let too much of the year go by as you get chemistry under your belt, and you don't really want to be saying, well, our schedule's been tough, those teams are just really good, because you still want to win those games too, right?
Yeah, I hate the travel excuse. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess Abbotsford, there is somewhat of a built-in excuse there. kind of off by its own, but I just don't buy that. If you're going to be successful in Vancouver, you're going to have to do the same things and do the same travel that Abbotsford has to do. So if they can't make it work in the AHL, you're not going to make it work in the NHL. And I am looking forward to, like we mentioned, a newer team this weekend. We've got the San Jose Barracuda, and San Jose's, they've always been a team that they've managed to find players. Like, they're really good at drafting historically over the years. So I'm looking forward to seeing maybe some potential diamonds in the rough on San Jose, and just seeing some new faces anyway. I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we heard over the week John Stevens and Phil Giuseppe talking about how, you know, they're hoping to sort of right the ship. You know, they've released some clips online talking about how you know, they're finding that chemistry. It's a good group of guys, you know, but they're still working on it, and they're hoping to turn the ship this week. We also heard from Mike DiPietro, and he had this to say about the season so far.
I think anytime, you know, when the season starts in the American League, it's kind of, you know, kind of a slow start. It feels like you have a lot of practice time and you're not really getting in a lot of games. So, you know, the 2-week layover for myself was kind of a long time, and, you know, just being able to step out on the ice, and, you know, I really liked my game. I thought the stuff worked on during the week in practice, I started to apply a lot more. I thought it was one of my more efficient games, you know, throughout the year. Obviously not the result you wanted, but you know, for me personally, I really like, you know, the way my game's going and trending in the right direction. It's just, you know, the results will come in the win category for sure if you keep putting in the work and doing the right things. But yeah, it was certainly a good time, you know, getting on the ice and getting into a rhythm again. I think kind of pressure is what you make of it. I'm a big believer in, you know, making sure you don't let it consume you. You know, in a position that's, you know, heavily scrutinized, I think, because, you know, you screw up, everybody sees it. So, you know, for me, it's just keeping the team in it, you know, making sure I stay sharp whenever, you know, I need to, and you know, when I stop the pucks that come my way. Yeah, it's a good confidence booster, I think, for your game. Practices leading up towards, you know, that game, I made sure I was, you know, really honing in on some details that, you know, Sandman and I were kind of talking about working on. So for me, it's just continually grow my game. I think there's been some adversity over the past 600 days, and I just feel like, you know, for me personally, there's been some adversity even to start the year. You know, sometimes, you know, you feel like you deserve better fates on a few outings, but, you know, like I said, you put in the work, you do the right things, and you trust that things will work itself out. And, you know, like I said, we have a tight group in the room, and we're still trying to figure out, it's a learning process here. So, but like I said, I really like our team chemistry and the way we're trending. So, yeah, it's just continue to just be confident and put the work in and trust the process.
That was Abbotsford Canucks starting goaltender Mikey DiPietro, who, if you haven't seen, has an unbelievable Movember stash going so far. It is just the right kind of disgusting.
Is it? And I noticed, like, I'm sorry we haven't mentioned it yet, but you're doing the Movember thing too, right?
Yes, yeah. This is actually the first time in my life I'm attempting to grow a mustache. And I mean, is it successful? I don't know. It's disgusting. So, you know, that's
a little, and I'm horrible at growing a mustache too. Like, during the pandemic, I think like a lot of people, I kind of just let it grow. I'm not going to the office, you know, you're not seeing anyone. And it took a while, but I think you're only doing it for a month, right? Like, it took me probably it's like 2 months, and then it starts kind of looking decent, at least for me. It took a long time for me, but yeah. If people want to support you, how do they support you with that?
Oh, yeah, you can just go to my Twitter account. It's at the Tim Dickerts, and I'm posting sort of updates there, not daily, but every few days. So you'll be able to find a link there if you want to support the Movember cause, or at least just laugh at the pictures of my. They'll be there too.
But yeah, DiPietro, like, and there's been some talk this week. I know Chris Faber, one of my media friends, one of the few guys that comes out to a lot of the games and the practices. He had written an interesting article for Canucks Army talking about that DiPietro should be getting more time. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Like, goaltending hasn't been a problem. If the goal is to develop DiPietro, then yeah, I mean, I guess maybe he should be playing more. But yeah, I don't know. the goaltending, all the goalies have looked pretty decent so far. Maybe DiPietro should be getting a bit more playing time. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think that the minor leagues are one of these things where you don't. It's not like the pros, right? Like if you have a Vezina caliber goalie in the NHL, you're going to play them 65 games, right? You're just going to, because they're going to help you win. They're going to give you the best chance to win those 65 games, right? But in the minors, it's winning. You want to win every game, but you're also developing the players. And so it probably doesn't do anyone any good for Mikey DiPietro to be playing 80% of the games. Right. I think if it's like a 60-40 split, that makes the most sense, because it allows him to get game time in and then work on his game with the goalie coaches in practice. You know, you hear a lot of the NHL level goalies talk about how it's nice to have a day off so they can work with the goalie coaches to work on kinks in their game. And I think that when we're talking about developing players, particularly young players like Mikey DiPietro, that's equally important. The time spent with your goalie coach, with coaches in the film room, and you're not able to do those things. You don't have the time to do those things if you're playing every other night, right?
Yeah, and actually, I think Arturs Silovs has looked really good. Like I knew nothing about this guy. I didn't even know how to pronounce his name earlier in the year. Didn't know he existed. I don't think a lot of Canucks fans did. But he's looked really good in his appearances. Like he had the shutout earlier in the year. He's a young guy as well. He's huge. He's 6'3". Like he takes up a lot of space. And he's a super athletic player. He's a lot of fun to watch. And like I kind of want to see more of him too. Like I want to see DiPietro get his fair share as well. But I want to see more of Silovs.
Yeah, and I think that as long as that's happening, as long as they're getting quality goaltending from both guys, it doesn't make sense to ride one over the other, because I guess, I mean, I am not a I am not a goalie prospect development expert, but it seems to me that you're not, the benefits to development are lost, of course, if they're not playing, but they're not gained by playing them too much, right? There's probably a balance that needs to be struck so that you have the time to play, but also the time to learn. And I think that that's something that that DiPietro is probably going to benefit from. I also think that you're 100% right when you say goaltending hasn't been a problem, right? It hasn't been the issue. The issue is that they can't score goals. And whether you have DiPietro playing every game or not, he's not putting the puck in the net. And that's the big problem, right? We need to score more goals. And it seems to be a problem from the NHL level all the way down to probably Kalamazoo, because the Canucks as an entire franchise can't seem to score goals.
Do we want to talk about the Vancouver Canucks? I don't know. I don't really. It's depressing. I don't think I want to talk.
I can't talk about it. It's honestly, watching the Vancouver Canucks right now makes me sick. At least when I watch the Abbotsford Canucks, I feel like there's hope.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We're not getting blown out 7-1 and all sorts of other issues going on.
Yeah. So Ben, you talked about this weekend playing the Barracudas. What do you think we have to look forward to this weekend? Can I predict a weekend sweep for the Heat or for the Canucks, or should I just cool it on that stuff?
I think it's maybe a better chance this weekend. The other thing with the Barracuda, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but they've had some COVID issues, and the Sharks and the Barracuda, and they share the same arena. So I think that earlier this month, I think 5 or 6 players from the Barracuda and the Sharks all had COVID, and it was a big mess. So I think they're ripe for the picking. So I think, yeah, I'd feel better about wins this weekend.
Let's do it. Back to back wins.
You heard it here, guaranteed.
The Abbotsford Farm lock of the week. two wins for the Abbotsford Canucks this weekend.
Especially that Friday game, because Friday's Diwali night, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be an interesting night.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Abbotsford has a large South Asian community, and I think that It's great. So we talked about this a bit last week about how it's great that the Canucks embrace these things at the NHL level and that they're embracing it at the AHL level. It's good for the community. It's good for the team. And we actually got a chance to talk a bit about it with Chico Dinjal. Chico Dinjal is the head equipment manager for the Abbotsford Canucks. Now, Ben, you and we first met working at Sport Check 100 years ago, selling hockey equipment amongst other things. And, I think that once you get into that world of selling sporting goods, if you just get really into it, it's something you sort of pay attention to forever. After I left Sport Check, I worked at Cyclone Tailors for a bunch of years as like a skate tech. I sharpened skates, I repaired skates, I did all of that stuff. If people had weird feet, I would modify their skates so they fit properly. So I'm like all in on this stuff. And so I was so excited to talk to Chico this week.
I am interested in all the hockey equipment. It's just like I'm kind of, as far as like the technology and what's good and what's like the best stuff to get. Like we're like a decade out from Sport Check or more. So it's kind of like I really wanted to ask him. So do you like Easton skates? Because that was my big thing. I love the Easton skates back in the day. They're probably, I don't even think they make them anymore, but I wanted to get more into the equipment stuff, but I didn't want to sound like a nerd. So, but yeah, it was awesome to talk to him. And it sounds like, I think I would love a job like this. I think probably you would too, right?
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. Although we get into that, and we won't spoil it now, but the hours seem a bit more than I'm willing to do these days.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, exactly.
So we talked to Chico earlier in the week. Here is our conversation with head equipment manager Chico Dinjal. Chico, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Now, I want to preface this, Chico. Ben and I used to work at Sport Check way back. That's how we met. And we used to sharpen skates,
Well, no. I never sharpened skates. They never let me. I tried it a couple times. I was horrible at it. So
okay. Yeah. Okay. I was a skate tech at Cyclone afterwards. I knew what I was doing. So I want to know that you are in where I want to feel like we're part of the same sort of fraternity. Skates. Maybe we're not, but I feel like that's important.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
I think the place to start, because obviously you have a super cool job, right? You're the head equipment manager for a professional hockey team. For anyone who just has been a fan of hockey their whole lives, or like Ben and I, who's been around, equipment and sticks, and you see the new things and you think that stuff's cool. How did you get into this line of work?
It all actually happened by accident, and it started off like when I was in university, my final year. I was doing my practicum in my kinesiology degree, and I was asked to join the hockey team as a trainer, and I accepted, and Dave Adolph was the head coach then, and and I learned a lot that year about hockey, and I loved being around the athletes, and it was just amazing, and that's where I learned how to sharpen my first pair of skates.
was that at University of Saskatchewan, the first kind of course?
Yeah, University of Saskatchewan.
So you were a trainer on a team when you learned to sharpen your first pair of skates. I love
it. Yeah. Didn't know anything about skates or hollows or anything. The head guy there, Paul Lichtenberger, was like, "Hey, just grab a pair of skates and start sharpening them." And then I did it for Kyle Calder, I believe it was, and he was playing with the Chicago Blackhawks at the time, and I don't know, it was the Rangers, but he went out there and he said, "Hey, good job." I was like, I guess I'm good at sharpening skates. So he just went from there, and then.
Yeah, that sounds like more training involved at Sport Check than U of S.
Yeah.
So so you get in there. Did you play hockey as a kid?
No, can't skate.
You can't skate.
No, I'm not a
Chico.
great skater. I can skate now. I'm not a great
Okay.
skater though. But my hockey career ended at 5 years old.
Chico, it sounds like you'd be a fit on my hockey team. I gotta be.
Yeah. I do play ball hockey, but I'm not that good at that either.
So then, so you've kind of fall into the world of equipment managing and into the world of hockey. How did it evolve from there? I mean, obviously you didn't imagine that this was where your career was going to head when you started taking a kinesiology degree at the University of Saskatchewan.
No, like I always wanted to work with athletes. By taking my Kin degree, I did some stuff in the clinic at the U of S. And then, like after I was done graduating school, I was looking for a job, and the head coach and GM of the Humboldt Broncos called Dave Adolph and asked if there would be anybody interested in, and he told me that I should give Chico a call. And sure enough, he gave me a call, and I met him out there in Humboldt and spent 3 years there. It was awesome. And that was kind of like where that ended up. So it was a great experience there. Won a national championship and learned a lot.
Was that a pretty heavy experience for you coming in there?
Yeah, it was quite different. I was born and raised in Regina, and then moved to Saskatoon, and then I didn't know anything about like Humboldt or small towns or anything, right? So when I went there, it was an eye opener. Loved it. It was one of my favorite places that I've ever been to was Humboldt. It's a great place, great for family. Met a lot of people there. Have a lot of friends still there. So it was awesome, man. And then that just kind of like kick-started my career into getting a job in the WHL. And I got the call from my head coach at the time, Dean Brockman, and he was also the GM in Humboldt, and asked if I would go to the WHL. And I asked, well, where? And he said, well, Prince George wants you. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go. And that kind of like, it went from there, and I was very fortunate that like I didn't even have to apply for that job. So, but no, it was great. It was a lot of hard work. Being away from family for 3 years, like in Humboldt, and then moving to Prince George, it was even harder because I was there for 13 years, and my family lived in Saskatoon, and my wife's family lived in Victoria. So we're up there by ourselves.
Wow.
What was it like when you first went to Humboldt? Like, was that like a pretty big culture shock? Because I know personally, like I worked in Bonnyville, Alberta for a few months right after my graduation from journalism school, and the main reason why I went there is because they have an AJHL team there. So I was like, at least I'll have something to cover. And that was the biggest deal in the town. Like that hockey team was all anyone talked about. And was that kind of what Humboldt was like?
It was totally like that. I remember going for coffees. Like they didn't have a Tim Hortons there, right? So everybody had coffee at either the McDonald's or the A&W there. And I remember getting pulled into like conversations with like the older, so it's the older people in those towns, right? They want to know the inside. Hey, how is that guy doing? Is he injured still? How is his injury? And and are the boys going this weekend? And it was a great experience. I loved talking to people. I met a lot of great people there. It was fun. I loved it there.
So I mean,
the whole culture thing, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously, now that you've made the big transfer to professional hockey, I think when people, like to say, people think that working for a professional team is, the coolest job ever. What's the day look like for you? What you get up in the morning, and what's the day like? How does the day shake out for you?
We typically here, our staff here in Abbotsford usually gets in around 6-7 o'clock in the morning, and then it's preparing for the day, making sure all the skates are done, making sure equipment's all right, and then making sure the players are okay, and then it's just taking care of all those little things there. And then and it's practice. Like I get to come to work and I get to watch hockey, and watching these athletes like perform on the ice and practice, it's amazing, right? And that's one thing I'll never take for granted about this job, is that I get to watch hockey every day and I can wear track pants.
Now most people get to wear track pants because they work at home now, but
yeah.
And then what's and then I guess after practice it's checking the equipment again, working with, if anyone's got any issues or problems, you're taking care of that stuff. And then
exactly. Like an example, like we have a player that likes his blades done a certain way, right? So today was a day that we were testing out different sharpenings with him and different profiles with him, so that they were all matching the same. So profiled about 4 or 5 different blades, and he went out there and tested them out and let me know what he wanted different, and I would switch them up and go from there, right? So it's nice working one-on-one with the athletes here. It's as a group as well. Like they're just great people.
Yeah, I've spoken to a few trainers over the years, and one of the major tasks that they've told me they have to do is laundry. So how much laundry do you have to do? Is that your responsibility?
Yes, we do quite a bit of laundry here. Well, a lot. But I'm very fortunate that I have a really good assistant who's actually also a good friend of mine, Shingo. He helps me out a lot with that. And the facility that we have here, we have 2 industrial washers and 2 industrial dryers. So it actually doesn't take that long. We do more, I think, more on repairing equipment and fixing other things than anything else now.
Do you have are there any sort of like weird requests, or what are sort of some of the more unusual like equipment requests you've had over the years?
Not really weird, just like more like a lot of guys with like more protection on their shoulder pads and stuff like that. So we add protection on it and like add more pads and stuff like that. So, but other than that, like I haven't had any weird requests from anybody.
All right, Chico, I want to run through a few things, and this is more for the hockey players, the like hockey parents who or people who go to the store and they don't know what they're doing or whatever. So I want to ask you some questions, and then maybe we can get some answers for people. Sound good?
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Shoot. Okay.
So what is the most popular flex on the team for a stick?
Oh, okay, so let's go back. Let's date myself here, okay? My first year junior A, it was 100 and 110, right?
Yeah.
My first year in the WHL, it was 85, 100. My final year in the WHL, it was 75 to 90. Now in pro, it ranges anywhere from like 65 to 95.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's just personal preference, right? For what people are looking for.
Yeah. Like we work with great companies now, like with CCM, Bauer and Warrior and True. Like they basically will do whatever flex we want for the players, right? So if a player wants 70 flex, you get 70 flex, 75 flex, 80 flex, 85, so whatever they want.
When I worked at Cyclone Taylor's, my old boss, Mark Taylor, he played pro and he got special blades made for his sticks. Like he got specially ordered sticks made with the curve that he had. And it looked like a pitching wedge. Like it was like straight and then it flipped like a pitching wedge. Are there any weird curves on the team?
Well, that one there, that's the old Jury. I remember that one. That was like, that's a very popular curve for the coaches. They like that one because they're a lot older, right? But most of the craziest one that I've seen is someone had the crazy OV curve.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was basically like a hook on the toe there. And it was quite the crazy curve there.
Okay, and then what about the hollow on the skate sharpen? Is there one that most of the players have? Is there one that or is it just sort of all over the place?
No, the most popular one is 5/8. And the least popular is probably 1/2 inch, I would say. Yeah, but 5/8. No one should be. I believe no one should be less than 5/8.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at these inside.
I love it. I love it. You know, I was getting a flashback. I was getting a flashback to Iserman curve. That was my favorite curve. That was money.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I remember back when I was in university, the players used to like heat their blades up and put them under a door and bend them.
Yeah,
that's how they got the curves of the stick.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Is there anything like what's something about the job, you know, the day-to-day of the job that, you know, someone on the outside might not know about that they might find interesting, or what's something that would surprise people to hear about what the job's actually like?
You know what, the biggest surprise that a lot of people don't understand is the amount of time that you have to spend at the rink. You know, it's a 10 to 12-hour days, sometimes 16-hour days on game days, and sometimes you're going 21 days without a day off, right? It's you're just that much involved with the team, and that's how much work it takes to get these guys, you know, going, right? So even if the players are not coming in on a day, there's just still a lot of work that has to be done at the rink to prepare for the next day, right? So that's the one thing that a lot of people don't realize or understand is the amount of work that it takes to be an equipment manager.
Yeah, 16-hour days. Yikes.
Yeah.
You gotta love hockey, right? Or else it's not the job for you.
You gotta love hockey, yeah.
One thing I've actually always kind of been curious about is so the equipment for the players. Like, do they bring their own, or do the teams provide it, or how does that work exactly? Especially if someone gets called up or sent down to Vancouver, like, are they bringing their own gear back? Yeah, like, how does that work?
Yeah. So what happens is if a player gets sent down from Vancouver, which is really nice with us being in Abbotsford now, is they'll just bring their gear here, and then they use the exact same gear minus the pants, because we don't have a stripe down our side. So we give them new pants here, and then other than that, they can use exactly the same stuff that they've used up there down here. So it actually works out pretty good.
Now, speaking of that, you know, Abbotsford, we're so close to the big club in Vancouver. Do you have any communication with the equipment team in Vancouver?
Oh yeah, like Patty O'Neill, the head guy there, and Red and Mac, basically talk to them just about every day. You know, because there's a lot of transactions that happen and ordering of stuff, and you know, they always check in. Like, they've been really good checking in to make sure everything's okay here. And if I have any questions, I am free to call them at any time I want. So it's been pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I mean, Vancouver, the Canucks just had their Diwali nights, obviously with those super cool jerseys everyone was freaking out about, even Seth Rogen. The Abbotsford Canucks are having their Diwali night coming up this week. What does that mean for you to see the NHL and hockey in general celebrating different cultures?
You know, it's awesome. I think it's a great way to help grow the game, grow the fan base, you know, and get hockey out there and make it loved by everyone. And that's the major issue there, is like, you know, we got to get people loving this game again so that more people are, you know, getting involved in hockey, right? It could be anywhere from a standpoint of a player, or it could be anywhere from a staff member, right? You know, it's great. I love seeing it. I love seeing all the different cultures, all the different people. You know, it's bringing our community together. It's awesome.
And do you think that's something that, you know, like hockey in general, hockey culture in general could be better at, more welcoming to different peoples and not just from different cultural backgrounds, but financial backgrounds and that sort of thing?
You know what? I think like right now, because it's my first year, so I really don't know yet. But everything that Abbotsford and Vancouver's done, I think it's been a great job of including all different cultures so far from what I've seen. Vancouver's always been very passionate about different cultures because of the different culture fan base they have, right? So they've done a really good job of that. And here in Abbotsford, just the last couple of games that we've had, it's nice to see in the crowd that it's a very diverse crowd. It's people are all coming together for one common goal, and that's to cheer on the Abbotsford Canucks, and it's awesome to see.
And then that's what you want, right? You want to see the fan base actually reflect what the community looks like, and that's exciting to see that's
exactly
for sure. Awesome. Ben, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask?
I think we're good. I was just gonna ask actually, moving to Abbotsford, like how did that adjustment go for you? Like just especially going from Prince George to down to Abbotsford, it's with Diwali night and everything, especially it's a different culture, and there's just a lot more diversity in Abbotsford, I would guess, than Prince George. So has that been a pleasant surprise, or how have you reacted to the change?
You know what? I actually, I love it. I love Prince George. Prince George is a very diverse community. It has a great population of South Asians, a great population of all the other cultures. But like Prince George is on the next level. It's awesome. Or Abbotsford's on the next level. It's awesome out here. It's great. People are excited. I like seeing that the Canucks, Johnny Canuck logos everywhere around here, and it's great. The one thing I have to adjust to is traffic here in Abbotsford. I'm not used to all the traffic.
Are you living in Abbotsford, or whereabouts are you?
I'm living in Abbotsford, but it's still lots of traffic. I thought a traffic jam used to be like 5 or 6 cars. Over here it's like 100, 200, right? So yeah, the adjustment to traffic is the big thing there.
Yeah, well, we've all got, that's something we all struggle with in the Lower Mainland, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Chico, I want to thank you so much for the time, for giving us a peek behind the curtain of what's going on at the Abbotsford Canucks. And if I'm there with my kids, how do I get a puck from you?
You know what? Just come see me, introduce yourself, and then I'll get you a puck, okay?
Thanks, Chico. Hey, and best of luck, eh? This is I think it's an exciting time having this team in Abbotsford, and it's exciting that a person with the character of yourself has gotten this opportunity. So we're excited for you to take this ride, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Thanks,
okay?
Chico.
Thanks, Chico.
Okay, have a great day, guys.
You too. That was Abbotsford Canucks head equipment manager Chico Denjal. He was awesome, right?
He was really awesome, and like I honestly think I kind of underestimated like the popularity that this guy has. Like, so we put up a tweet earlier this week just mentioning that he's going to be on the show. And thanks to the Abbotsford Canucks, they retweeted it. But like just the amount of people that like he's made a huge impact in the hockey community. And he's only been around like, for 12, 13 years. But like he's obviously, people in Prince George know him. People know him here, people in Saskatchewan. And a lot of the players too, they really seem to love him. I read a story about Brett Connolly, who was with the Prince George Cougars back in the day. When he won the Stanley Cup with Tampa Bay a few years back, he went back to Prince George, and the first person he brought the cup to was Chico. Like, that's the kind of connection this guy's built.
I love it. And he didn't play hockey as a kid. He's like so many of us who have just grown up loving hockey, but never played it, or certainly never played it at a high level. I mean, there's so many people who engaged with hockey through ball hockey or street hockey or roller hockey or whatever, because of the bar of entry for ice hockey is too much for a lot of people. It's too expensive. It's too much time. The mornings are no good, or whatever the case. But so many people aren't able to engage with ice hockey, but they engage with it another way, even though they love it. And he's someone who was like that. He watched hockey, he played ball hockey, and then just through his work in kinesiology, ended up hooking up with a team. And then boom, he's got this career, extremely successful career in the world of professional hockey. It's so cool.
Yeah, I found that really surprising. I just assumed that he played hockey growing up. Like if you live in Saskatchewan, like you pretty much have to play hockey. What else is there to do in the winter, right? But like the fact that he has managed to build his career without, and that's the other thing, like with hockey, I would think like, when you do go to the interview, they ask you, well, so what did you play? How many years did you play? What position did you play? But I guess like, you'd think that would come into the job interview or something, or they'd be more likely to hire someone who's actually played the game. But I think it's cool that he's been given all these opportunities and he's taken advantage of them. And like, he's one of the more popular names on the Abbotsford Canucks, one of the more recognizable people on the bench. And I think throughout the whole province, I think a lot of people know him and they seem to like him a lot.
Well, I mean, he's got a great name. I mean, his name's Chico. I mean,
that is awesome. Yeah.
I mean, how do you not? Obviously you root for a guy named Chico. That's just how. Okay. Well, this weekend, 2 games up for the Abbotsford Canucks. 2 wins. We've guaranteed it already. If they don't win, of course, it's got nothing to do with us. We are not creating some sort of curse in our podcast. Thank you again to everybody for listening. Thanks to Black Press Media and the Abbotsford News. Make sure you subscribe. 5-star reviews only.
Yep.
All that good stuff, and make sure you share it with your friends and family. And have a wonderful week, and we'll be back next week to talk more Abbotsford Canucks.
See you next time.